Hello guys, thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel and taking a look at my shabby chic furniture foires. I've had a fantastic time learning loads and loads and loads about the wonderful world of shabby chicing. My house is now full of this stuff, and I thought I would impart a little bit more knowledge to you guys on how to turn something like this, which is an old pine chair which I got from a charity shop. I've got 4 of them to paint up, and how to turn them into something a little bit more like this, which is a bit more fitting for my house. What I've been doing today is painting these in stages so I can show you guys just how we go through the shabby chic process. We're indoors today because, as you can probably see outside, it's not the best of weather, and as winter sets in, you might want to think about sprucing up some furniture, but you might not know that you can actually do this inside. All you need is a decent dust sheet, and make sure that any sanding that you do that stuff outside when it is on a clear day. But let's get started in turning this into this. Okay, so when you start painting your chairs, what you want to do is sand it down. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. I've had a lot of you guys asking me kind of whether or not it's worth sanding down, what happens to it afterwards. Now, in my thought process, I really just think if you are unsure, then just do it, just to be on the safe side. You don't know, it could peel off. You could, find that it just doesn't take very well. So it's completely up to you, but if you're in doubt, just go and sand it down. What I'm going to be painting with today is this stuff. It's called Craig Rose 1829 from Edinburgh. You can find this in B&Q, and it's really, really cheap. It's only £11, so it's a really easy, simple buy, and it does go a long way. I actually prefer this to the paint that I was using in my previous video, which was Authentico paint. Only just personal preference. The finish isn't quite as chalky. It feels a little bit more solid, and the chalky feel feels a bit more like some chalk's going to come off every now and again. It never does, but that's just how it feels. So for my personal preference, I like this. We're going to be painting it in pale Mortlake cream, but before we do any of that, I'm going to show you what you need to do with the sanding, and it is as simple as just getting the varnish off with a piece of sandpaper. Nothing too taxing. Use some sandpaper that you have with something like a book or a piece of wood, and all you want to do is really just rough up the varnish. Anything that might have some varnish on it that you think might need to be taken off, then I would definitely use it around these parts. A book is great on flat surfaces, so just give it a go like this. There we go. And if you've got any of these bits here which are not flat surfaces, you just want to, do it by hand and just give it a bit of a rub down and make sure that you're taking off anything shiny, really, just to give it that finished sanded effect. Now, when you want to get started, you want to get your paint pot, and you want to definitely give it a good stir to mix in all of the oil, like that. And when it's ready to go, it's as simple as just painting your first coat on, just like this. When you're doing it inside, remember, it does still splash, so make sure that your dust sheet really is kind of all over the place, because this is my lounge right now, and I can tell you there are a few spots of paint that my other friends who live in this house are not going to be too happy with, so just be careful on that. Don't worry about kind of, the see-through bits of the paint here. It's not too much to worry about. Just make sure you give it a good even coverage wherever you can. Sometimes I would suggest that you start with a chair upside down, maybe, to paint the bottom bits first, but it doesn't really matter as long as everything's covered. You want to try and get into all the nooks and crannies, especially if it's got a lot of detail around it, just to make sure that when you do come to distress it, you are making sure that those bits are covered in the first place, so you have that option. So give it a good paint across like that. Make sure you give it an even coat, and then leave it to dry overnight. So when you have finished your first coat and you've left it overnight, you'll end up with something that looks a little bit like this. It looks definitely unfinished, and it's not quite the shabby chic that we're after just yet, but this is definitely a good next step. Okay, so when you've finished your 2 coats, this is what you should end up with. It's a solid colour all round, and it's looking like it could be finished. hopefully you could make the decision now whether or not to just leave it as is or to put on some distressing for it. And I personally prefer the distressed look. I think it just ages it up and is exactly what this kind of chalk paint is for. So all you need to do it is some more sandpaper. You can use lots of different levels of coarseness for the sandpaper. I quite like the medium coarseness just because it's not as harsh on pine, but it depends what wood you're using. And what you want to do is just start distressing the areas that would naturally get distressed. So you don't want to force it to do something it's not going to do. You don't want to go against the grain. You don't want to kind of look for anywhere that you wouldn't naturally think that there'd be a scuff. So what you are looking for are edges, bits like this around the legs, and you just want to give it a nice little bit here, bit of distressing, just to kind of show. What I do is I work in a circular motion, so you might get the odd scuff that comes onto the flat part of the chair here, but that's fine, that doesn't matter. That's actually a really, really nice look. It just looks like someone's been sat there or they scuffed it quite naturally. It's great. Up here, you want to just kind of run it along where there would naturally just be a bit of a corner or an edging part, just like this. And again, on these bits here, you just need to scuff it up a little bit in the middle, just to give it the odd little touches of distress here and there. Okay, so once you've finished distressing your piece of furniture, now it's time to seal it. And the best way of doing that is with some furniture wax. I'm using Authentico. I'm going back to it for the furniture wax, but you can buy furniture wax from anywhere. Homebase, B&Q, anywhere that sells any furniture paint should have this there, and it's about £8 as well. I'm using clear wax today because I don't want to give a darker effect on something that I've essentially painted white. So all you need to do to get going is make sure you use a paintbrush and get some wax on the paintbrush. And it's as simple as just painting it on. And what you want to do is cover the whole chair. So you want to make sure that you do this all over the place because it literally seals in the paint. And that's it. The final stage is just to do this. And what you'll see is as the dust from all of your distressing clears away is a really lovely bit of wood showing through where you've distressed it. That's really nice. Now, once you've done all of that all over your chair, don't forget the bottom legs as well. Once you've completely covered your chair, you leave it overnight for about 24 hours and that should solidify and seal and your paint won't scrape off. And that's it, you're done. So that is how to create a shabby chic chair using 1829 paint. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial and I hope I've answered some of the questions that you guys have been leaving on my previous videos. So good luck, give it a go yourselves, and please do leave me a comment and let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching.